Your brain cannot tell the difference between something that actually happened to you and something you vividly imagined. That's not a spiritual idea. That's a finding from Harvard, published in peer-reviewed Neuroscience, and replicated multiple times. It means that right now, tonight, you could close your eyes, imagine a different version of your life in specific sensory detail, and your brain would begin physically rewiring itself as if that life were already real. Neurons firing, synapses forming, architecture changing. When that study came out in 2004, it should have been front-page news. Instead, almost nobody in mainstream science touched it, because what it implied about the human mind was too dangerous. 3 researchers decided to find out just how deep it goes, and what the third one measured shouldn't be possible. To understand why that finding was so dangerous, you need to know what neuroscience believed at the time. The adult brain does not change. That was the rule. Published in every textbook, taught in every university. Your neurons form their connections during childhood, and after that, you're locked in. Your brain is hardware, not software. It cannot be rewritten. In 1998, a researcher named Dr. Fred Gage proved that was wrong. He showed that adult brains grow new neurons, new connections, new pathways. The structure of your brain is not fixed. It is being rebuilt right now based on what you pay attention to. The neuroscience community accepted this reluctantly. Fine, the brain changes, but they drew a hard line at what came next. Because a few researchers started asking a question that made everyone uncomfortable. If the brain rewires based on experience, and Pasquale just proved the brain treats imagination as experience, then what exactly is a thought? What is it capable of? And is it possible that the monks and the mystics and the people talking about manifestation were pointing at something real this entire time? Most scientists refused to even consider it, but 3 of them didn't. And what the third one found, the last researcher I'm going to tell you about, might be the most unsettling of all. The first was Richard Davidson, University of Wisconsin, respected neuroscientist, not someone prone to mystical thinking. In 2002, Davidson does something that nobody in serious academia had attempted. He gets Tibetan Buddhist monks, practitioners with over 50,000 hours of meditation, and puts them inside an fMRI brain scanner. He fires up the machine, and what comes back breaks his models. Gamma wave activity, the fastest brain wave, the one that fires during peak focus, sudden insight, moments of heightened consciousness, is pulsing at levels never recorded in a human being, not just during meditation, all the time. The monk's resting brain looks like what most people experience during the single best moment of mental clarity in their entire year. Pay attention to that, because what comes next builds directly on this. Davidson's team checks the equipment, recalibrates, runs it again. Same results. The monk's prefrontal cortex is physically thicker, more densely connected, and a specific ratio that neuroscientists use as a barometer for human well-being is so far beyond the normal range that it shouldn't be possible. 50,000 hours of pure mental practice had produced a brain that was structurally, measurably, undeniably different from every other brain they had ever scanned. No drugs, no surgery, no external intervention of any kind, just the mind turned inward for decades. Davidson published the results. The scientific community couldn't argue with the data, but they could argue with the implication, because if monks can physically rebuild their brains through thought alone, what about the rest of us? What about someone who starts tomorrow with no training and 10 minutes to spare? That question terrified people, because the answer would determine whether this was a curiosity about monks or the most important discovery in the history of neuroscience. The second researcher was Sara Lazar, Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School. Lazar wasn't interested in monks. She wanted to know what happens to an ordinary brain. She recruits people who have never meditated once, complete beginners. She gives them a simple practice: focused visualization and mindfulness. 27 minutes a day for 8 weeks, before and after brain scans. Her team ran the analysis 3 times because they thought they had made an error. In 8 weeks, the beginners showed measurable increases in gray matter density in the hippocampus, the center of learning and memory. The physical tissue of their brains had changed. Their amygdala, the fear and stress center, shrank measurably. Their prefrontal cortex thickened. 8 weeks, 27 minutes a day, visible on a medical imaging scan at one of the most respected hospitals on the planet. Think about what that means for you, right now, listening to this. The monks weren't special. The monks were just further along. Any brain could do this. Your brain could do this. And it could start changing in less time than it takes to finish a season of television. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you the exact protocol, step by step, so you can start tonight. But first, you need to hear what the third researcher found, because everything so far, the piano study, the monks, the Harvard beginners, was about what happens inside one person's skull. What comes next suggests the effect doesn't stop there. Joe Dispenza's story starts with a sound, the crack of his own spine against pavement, cycling accident, 6 vertebrae shattered. Doctors tell him the only option is Harrington rod surgery, metal rods bolted along his spine. He'd walk maybe, but his body would never move the same way again. He refused. For 9.5 weeks, lying flat in a hospital bed, Dispenza visualized his spine rebuilding, not vaguely, specifically. He mentally reconstructed each vertebra, each nerve fiber, each disc in anatomical detail for hours a day. 10 weeks after the accident, he walked out of the hospital under his own power. Full recovery. Now, a single recovery story doesn't prove anything. Dispenza would agree. But what he built afterwards is where the data starts, and this is where the story takes a turn that I still don't fully know what to do with. Starting in 2013, Dispenza begins running large-scale meditation workshops. Hundreds of participants, fully monitored, EEG brainwave sensors, heart rate variability monitors, and something unusual, electromagnetic field detectors placed not on the participants, but around the room. When the group enters a specific state, elevated emotion combined with clear mental intention, what Dispenza calls heart-brain coherence, the electromagnetic readings in the room change, not on their bodies, in the space around them. This research was conducted with the HeartMath Institute, which has published peer-reviewed studies on heart coherence for over 30 years. Their data shows that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field extending several feet beyond the body, and that field shifts based on emotional state. I want to be honest about where this sits. This is frontier science. Not everyone accepts it, but the instruments measured something. The measurements were repeated. And what they suggest, that focused internal states may produce effects beyond the boundary of a single brain, is exactly what every ancient contemplative tradition has claimed for thousands of years. They had a word for it. They called it manifestation. And 70 years before any of this data existed, one teacher described a protocol for it so specific that it reads like a neuroscience experiment. This is the part I promised you, the protocol you can use tonight. And once you hear the science behind it, you'll understand why it works. His name was Neville Goddard. In the 1950s, in lecture halls across New York and Los Angeles, he taught a single technique. Every night, as you're falling asleep, in that narrow window where your body is heavy and your thoughts start to drift, hold one scene in your mind. A scene that would only exist if the thing you wanted had already happened. Don't observe it. Be inside it. Feel the texture of what you're touching. Hear the specific voice of the person next to you. Feel the weight of it in your chest, not as a wish, but as a fact. Loop it. Let it play until you fall asleep inside the experience, or until it stops feeling like imagination and begins to feel like memory. For decades, that was dismissed. Wishful thinking. Fantasy dressed up as philosophy, but line it up against the data. Pascual Leone proved the brain cannot distinguish vivid imagination from physical experience. Lazar proved focused visualization restructures the brain in 8 weeks. Davidson proved that sustained mental practice creates permanent neurological change. And that drowsy state between waking and sleep that Goddard specifically prescribed, neuroscience now identifies it as the shift from beta to theta brainwave frequency, the exact state where neuroplasticity peaks, where the subconscious is most receptive to new patterns, where the critical mind, the part that says, this isn't real, goes quiet. Goddard didn't have brain scanners. He didn't have fMRI machines or EEG monitors or peer review. But the protocol he was teaching in 1952 maps almost exactly onto what neuroscience needed another 50 years to confirm. Here's the practice, not eventually, tonight. Choose one outcome, specific enough that you can build a scene around it, something you would see, hear, and feel if it were already real. Tonight, as you lie down and your eyes get heavy, that narrow window right before sleep, step into the scene. Not as a spectator, as someone who's there. Feel the textures, hear the sounds, let the emotion fill your chest, as though this is something that already happened to you. Loop it until you drift off inside it, or until the boundary between imagining and remembering starts to dissolve. Do this every night. Based on Lazar's research, measurable changes in your brain's physical structure begin within 8 weeks. This is not magic. It is not wishful thinking. It is the operating system of your own mind, used deliberately for the first time. The monks spent lifetimes mastering this. The mystics encoded it in metaphor. Neuroscience, finally, can watch it happen on a screen. The question was never whether it works. The only question, is whether you'll try it.